I have a story for you guys.
Uh-oh.
I love when it's the three of us. It's the race.
Coming in hot.
The bad joke first. Yeah.
Once upon a time, there lived a king who was only 12 inches tall. He was a terrible king, but a great ruler.
I
got it in first.
I was listening to this guy, this comedian, I don't know, TikTok or something the other day. And he was telling a joke about elevators. And I was like, this is so good. It just works on so many levels.
Oh, I got to delete a dad joke out of my list.
Chris, this is your chance. You got something, or we do
mine, just so you know, Steph, mine was I started an argument with my wife while riding in an elevator. I was wrong on so many levels. Same joke, same punchline.
Oh, welcome to How to Founder. Most of it is bullshit.
All right, so what do you call a person who tells dad jokes but is not a dad, Stephanie?
I don't know.
A faux pas.
Oh, I've seen that one.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Our listeners who keep coming and going and being like, this is BS. Let's get into it. It's just the three of us. Hey, this one's real, you guys. What if every option you're keeping open is silently billing you? In 2011, Color Labs raised 41 million before launching a single product line, kept its architecture deliberately broad to preserve optionality, and burned through all of it in 20 months without ever committing to a market. The founders mistook flexibility for strategy. Today on How to Founder, we're going to be talking about the optionality trap and why keeping the doors open kills progress, or why keeping doors open kills progress. I'm your host, Stephanie Hayes, and with me today are my two mediocre co-hosts, Anthony Franco and Chris Franks. All right.
Is
just
that
three of us today.
TWO or TOO?
What?
Too mediocre or too mediocre?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
It's in the ear of the beholder.
Double meaning.
Okay, look, we had a good conversation about ADHD before we started and not surprisingly.
No, that was right on topic.
That's what I mean.
You posed a question that had optionality to it.
That's right.
By too mediocre, you had options.
And we are all entrepreneurs. Look, entrepreneurs are, whether you're diagnosed or you're not, most entrepreneurs are on the ADHD spectrum, right? We all have this high level of tolerance for variety. So we are very often guilty of having a lot of options and keeping a lot of options open. So when does this stop being smart? And when does it start being the reason that you're not moving forward? Anthony, go.
This is probably my biggest weakness.
Me too.
And I also think it's a strength, right? Because it is, we are talking about keeping your options open and making decisions that keep options open. Practically speaking, is probably the right decision. At least not rushing to make a decision that feels urgent, that may trap you in a corner. But it also gets you to the point where if you're building something and you're like, oh, but it can do this, and oh, it can do this, and I want my users to have the option to do that. There's this fine line between making decisions that don't paint you into a corner and making decisions that allow you to delay launching.
Chris?
This is a really interesting question because it is a paradox, which is what we're going to tell you from everything that we've learned is that you can't get too cemented on an individual path, that you need to make sure that you're talking to customers, that you're getting feedback, and that you're adjusting your path along the way, and you're listening to that feedback. But the paradoxical component of this is if you start to drift too far based on one person's feedback and you don't genuinely stay true to what your vision is, you're going to be all over the fucking place, right? You're never going to get anywhere. And so the thing that's so difficult about this is because in one side of our mouth, every single startup person will tell you, you have to go listen to the market. You have to go build to their needs. But at the same time, we're going to tell you, if you don't stay true to your original vision, if you don't continue down the path that you want to try to build, you're probably not going to be successful. And so both of these things have to be true. And I think that's what makes this so hard. And you throw into the fact that typically we are ADHD, and typically we do get interested and excited about new technology. And, all three of us are wildly excited about AI. AI wasn't a thing 2 years ago. What if you had really started a serious company 2 years ago and suddenly AI
Yeah.
thing, and now you're
Such a great question.
way bigger, right?
So Stephanie, talk a little bit about that, Steph, because in reality, if you're still building technology that's 2 years old, and like at what point does it make sense to like just go hold everything, hold the phone? We need to completely restructure this, because AI is the optionality differentiator, right? That's really what it gives you. It gives you the ability to rapidly iterate and change your mind very quickly, get out of corners that you've painted yourself in. What do you think, Steph?
Well, I think first of all, we have to be careful about just assuming that everybody listening is building a SaaS company or something like that, right? So
but
I think
it gives you options outside of software.
right. So I was more talking about, the software perspective, like we're building a technology company 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference between flexibility and optionality. So optionality feels to
I
me
keep
like
telling my wife that. She doesn't listen. I don't know what that meant. I don't know what that meant.
You keep telling her that she's not flexible. Because if you're telling her she's not flexible enough, then that's something else. But anyway, so optionality versus flexibility. So now I'm just going to go back and talk about from the technology perspective. This is, the reason that we built like Agile, for example, and DevOps, and all the ways that we build software, because software tends to be this long and protracted investment and yada yada yada. It's a great example. So we built Agile so that we could build flexibility into what is typically a much longer process, and we can react to and respond to things that are changing. That's different to me than being like, oh, but maybe I want to actually go and be a zookeeper, or maybe we build a different software. Like, I think having a flexible business model where you are able to respond and react to market conditions or something that you're learning, or a opportunity, versus what I see a lot of founders do is like chasing every new opportunity that comes down, because I think that there's a difference between founders doing this and people working in the company doing this. I think a lot of founders do this because they are so petrified of not being successful and of failing. So Chris, riff on that.
Bingo. What this comes down to is fear. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad fear to have. If you want to go out and be successful, your fear is that if you go too far in one direction and you realize that the other direction is actually more profitable, that you've gone too far down this road. It's a false dichotomy, but I certainly felt that. I felt early on, and Anthony, you and I used to call this the big room problem, is that you've got this idea And suddenly you're standing in the middle of a big room, and everywhere you turn is interesting opportunity. And as opposed to pursuing one of them, you freeze and you don't go in any direction, and you sit and you keep spinning around. And the reality is that I think that we've all experienced this, is that heading in one direction, even if it's the wrong direction, closes a door, which is actually pretty good, right? You want to start to go and go, okay, I think this is the right idea. I think this is the right approach. I think this is the problem I want to solve. And when you realize that it's not going to work, it's okay, because you've learned something along the way, even if it's just that this idea is not going to work. You at least know that definitively. But it really does, I think, come down to this element of FOMO, like your fear of missing out of this next opportunity. Is that resonate, Anthony?
Sorry, I wasn't really paying attention. No, yeah. Yeah, is that what I think it's both. I think FOMO's part of it. It's fear of missing out and fear of launching. It's fear. It comes down to fear, but it's not quite good enough, is what it is, or of the desire to keep doing what is feeding your brain with dopamine. Building is that. Building is fun for a lot of people. Selling isn't. Going to market isn't. So it's a combination of those. So you may be telling yourself, I'm doing this to give myself optionality, but are you doing it because are you adding this feature or this service or product because you want your customers to have an option, for either it's a competitive threat or you really think it's differentiating, or are you doing it because you have a fear of missing out, or are you doing it because you have a fear of launching, or are you doing it to avoid the things that you don't really want to do?
And I want to acknowledge here that there are personality types right here that, like, it's built into my DNA that I love having lots of things. Like, I love variety. I would be so held back if I was just focusing on one thing. But I have learned how to set expectations and make investments in sort of sprints to give one thing enough focus until it kind of gets to the next level, and so on and so forth. But that doesn't serve you when you're leading a company and building a company with people that are now relying on you, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to be able to satisfy that need as a person in other ways and not make your little business suffer, right? But if we dig a little bit further into this, if we're hedging, is that a strategy, or is that actually proof that you don't believe in your own bet?
Good question.
What a great question.
Yes, I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris.
I think that you just hit on something that's so critically important, Stephanie. Is that we are curious people by nature, the three of us, but every single founder, and Anthony, you say it all the time. It's like when you go, you only want to hang out with other founders, because founders are interesting people that are curious about the world and want to teach you about something completely new that has nothing to do with your business. But there's also this idea of being an operator. And you have to do both, I think, early on. And I think it's really hard line to answer your question directly, Stephanie. That's at what point in time do you stop hedging? Do you stop staying in a place of curiosity and you know that you found the right fit? And this is a little bit like getting married, because the answer is there's no such thing as soulmates. There's no such thing as the perfect partner. You have to just commit and make that decision. I think it's similar. Is that a crappy analogy, Anthony?
It isn't, but there's another dimension to this, I think, and that is, first of all, if you are 100% certain of your idea, you should be panicked.
Right.
That's not the right position to be. So that anxiety, it's this weird dichotomy. I talked to Rob Wilson, CEO of OneReach, and I had this conversation where he was saying he suffers from this weird personality disorder where he's both paranoid of being wrong and optimistic that he's right. And you have to be both. And that's a really weird. How do you quantify that? How do we move forward? How would you get anything done if both of those things are true?
Anthony's having a midlife crisis.
I am. I'm like, how do I move forward?
We're watching a full mental breakdown here on how to found their life.
Here's the thing. Here's what I think a lot of people don't really understand is you can sell pretty much anything if you get your messaging right, your pricing right, your positioning right, and if you believe that what you're selling is a solution to something, you can sell it. So
there's a company out there that sells mail order potatoes.
Yeah,
a single potato. And it's not a special potato. It's just a regular old russet potato. And they do really well. So I'm reinforcing what you said, Steph. You're absolutely right.
Right. And so kind of where I was going with that is like the mindset of looking externally for some type of, like, I think a lot of people do this. They look externally. Actually, I know a lot of CEOs do this. They look externally for validation or verification that they're on the right path when there isn't a right path. There is only how well you're executing.
It's such an important point.
Yeah. So if we are committed to optionality because we are fearful of what's going to happen, and I've seen this happen so many times, the delays, the pinging around at different things, trying to stay in a comfort zone while looking for something to tell them that they're making the right decision. That's why we get in those positions with all of this optionality. Agree? Disagree? Where have you seen it?
I'll flip it. I'm just going to agree and say yes, which is, I have been obsessed with a single problem for the last 20 years. It's not currently the problem I'm working on, but I'm obsessed with this idea of storytelling and human psychology and how desire within human brains are attracted to individual products and services. I've started 3 or 4 different projects around it, and I've started 2 companies around that same problem. I'm obsessed with a problem. I'm not currently working to solve that problem. Everything I've learned is solving that problem. But I do think that there is this idea of problem founder fit, of something that has just constantly been in the background of your entire career. But I, like Anthony and Stephanie, is that true for you? Have you fallen in love with a problem to the point where it's just been the thing? Yeah. What's the problem you guys have fallen in love with?
For me, it's making AI approachable to non-developers with tools and training. So it's kind of like it hit at the right time for me, because it's like that I couldn't have done that 3 years ago. So it's problem founder fit, which I totally agree with, and timing.
Stephanie, what about you?
It's helping business owners focus on an asset-based business. And it's a huge new idea, surprisingly enough, for a lot of founders, that they're like super focused on, just the next round of revenue and not thinking about how they can leverage assets inside their business. So I've seen so many business owners turn their business into something totally new once they have this perspective. And it's like, way, it gives them something that they're actually working towards and they can see the future and whatever. Ultimately, this ends up being exits, right? And that is my focus, is helping business owners make exits, but not in the typical like bro way, but more like, making a wealth event out of something that I didn't think about before.
But so here's the thing that's true, I think, which is if you take into account the first fact, and this is a really hard fact for most early stage founders to accept, is that you're not going to be Zuckerberg, you're not going to own half of Kauai, you're probably not going to be stupidly rich. You're probably not going to go IPO. You can probably make a good living, but this is just a job. Second fact is you can make just about any business work so long as you scale it correctly. And the third thing, and this is so critically important, is that if you start a business that you fucking hate, you're going to fail.
Right.
If you start a business that sucks and that you hate working in that business, you're going to fail.
And
so
you know why it
finding that
happens?
thing-
It's because business owners build a business that, originally built on some vision that they had, and then they start getting influenced by business coaches and business education, and it all teaches you to do something the same way. But what you're actually interested in and passionate about and who you are as a business owner, that might look really different. This is what I do with all my clients as we go through this alignment exercise. And it's really interesting to see how many of them are like, oh, I've built a business I don't like because I thought that's the way I had to do it. Right. So all optionality could very much be the function of you not being very satisfied with the business that you've created. Right. Question for both of you. 2 questions for both of you. First question, when can optionality actually be performative? Like, we've talked about it being a result of fear.
I see this all the time. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see it in founder decks, right? And you see it manifest. And by the way, guilty is charged here as well. But where you want to show, and it can do this, and it can do this, and it can do this to either investors or customers. You are impressed with your own architecture of the product or service, and you want validation. If you're looking for validation on your product or service, by going through all the features and what it can do, it's performative.
I actually think that's not the result of being impressed with your own invention. I think if you're impressed with your own invention, you're focused. But if you go into a pitch and you've put everything in there, that's because you're hedging and you're not sure what's actually going to be successful, or you're hoping that someone in the room is going to see one of those things and be like, oh, that's for me, instead of being like,
yeah, that's another thing. But I've also seen it where it's performative too. You're right. And yeah.
Chris, what do you think?
I think it's almost always, in the point they're being is that if you're building a solution to a problem in a market that has people in it that are willing to pay for that problem, then that's the only thing that really matters. And that whether or not it does this feature or that feature or this feature or that feature is really just exactly what you guys both said, which is me being scared that I haven't built the right thing. And somebody be like, but wait, there's more. It's not only chops and dice.
Wow.
I've literally said the.
Oh no, we lost.
What a terrific phrase.
We lost
that is.
Did I blank out?
Yeah, you came back, but you froze at a great spot.
It was such a good point too that you made. Okay, second question that I had, because we're going backwards here for a second. To state the obvious, but to make sure that we are all clear on this, what is the problem with optionality?
I don't think that there is a problem early. And I think and Anthony, you and I both came out of this phase, and Stephanie, I think you did to a certain degree as well, which is I went through an exit. I pretty much, grieved for a period of time. I got myself back healthy mentally and physically after, absolutely trying to kill myself. And then I sat for a while. I sat for like 6 months, just sort of being a hippie and trying to figure out what was calling me in that given moment. Now the problem is that I probably stepped over 3 or 4 opportunities that would have made me really happy, but I was hedging because I didn't really know. So I think optionality is fine. I think the problem is that when in my last company, when I was 4 or 5 years deep in the company, and what it required was disciplined execution, I was looking for optionality because I was bored. I was looking for optionality because I didn't just want to go do the really, really hard work to take that company to the next level. And I'd made some mistakes. I'd structured it wrong along the way, but I started to break the company because I was trying to find optionality. So I didn't have to do the work that I'd come to dislike in that company.
So do you think that that's a warning sign? Like if you're trying to build options into the business, that's an indicator.
Fucking siren. It should be like a red alert, flashing red lights, and one of your founder friends needs to take you aside if you're being honest with them and being like, what's going on? You've built yourself a good business here. This is exactly what you said you wanted to do. And now you're breaking it. Why? What's up? And that's, again, it goes back to that self-awareness, finding a good coach, finding some loving critics, some other founders, a founder board, Anthony, all those things, right?
Anthony, what do you think the signs are that we need to be watching for that we're slipping down that rabbit hole of too many options? You're on mute.
God, I thought it was
gives dramatic long pause.
So
I have no clue. So I'm looking at my own life right now, and what I'm working on, and I haven't had to set one thing down.
Right, but let's think about like a founder with a company, right? With a team and a staff. How do you know?
Let me work through this a little bit, Steph, because really when we're talking about optionality and when it can be a danger, right, is because you have limited resources, and you can't explore every option because you have limited time, limited money, limited customer awareness, a limited amount of time for your customers to think about you. And I think the third one will always be true, but the first two are not anymore. If you're properly leveraging.
We're losing him again. The freeze frames are amazing.
Dang it, the freeze frame.
I know.
So if you're properly leveraging AI, the first two are really no longer obstacles. You can explore dozens, hundreds, even thousands of options fairly cost effectively. So I'm wondering if this advice about picking a lane and running hard at it is relevant anymore, outside of the fact that you can't present a customer with too many options, otherwise they won't buy. But everything else is on the table.
Let me fully disagree with you, Anthony.
Okay, great.
So
you're wrong, but let's go.
So you're in a place right now, and just because knowing what you've been through over the past couple of years, you are sitting in a place where you're wildly obsessed with the technology. You're incredibly good at building solutions around it. You've got some service clients, I think. You've got some other kind of options that are going, but sometime in the near future, you're going to be pulled in a direction. Somebody's going to want you to do something that is going to take the majority of your time, or you're going to become really, really obsessed with one solution, et cetera. And like, again, you just wrote the book. Congratulations. That wiser method, I think, is brilliant. This is going to start pulling you in a direction. The question is, are you going to allow yourself to be pulled in the direction that you're not incredibly intentional about? Because that's when you start businesses that you end up hating. Like right now, you're still in the quantum field of possibilities. You're going to be pulled out soon.
So what
Like,
you're teasing
right there.
away here, what you're teasing at now is what I think is the number one thing we need to be conscious of is what are you what are you actually working towards? So we just talked about our burning problems that motivate us. But thinking about a CEO, like let's get out of this like technology focus for a second, but let's say I'm building a construction company, right? I am building a very successful construction company in wherever. It's okay for me to have a few different things on the go if they are all in the service of what I'm trying to achieve with this company. But I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I never am really, but this is all like, this is where your financials really help. Because when I start looking at my financials and I see that I've got a lot of investment and I'm really unbalanced with the revenue coming in, and that money is spread out across a lot of different projects or a lot of different things, it's pretty inefficient, right? So that's a pretty neutral indicator. But I think, again, Anthony, if you are running several different initiatives, but they're all in the service of this same ultimate
They are.
goal,
Yeah,
I think you're okay, right?
I think so too. Yeah, if I was trying to start a restaurant and a construction business and an AI company and that's a problem. But if it's and the difficulty that I'm having, and I bet you I'm not unique with other founders, is I can feel the end point. I can't articulate it. I can feel where I'm going, and it makes sense, but I don't have it written down. I don't have a plan. I don't have, and I know that's dangerous, but I also know that if I wrote it down, it's going to be wrong.
But you know you are well tuned in like your experience in your under. We talk about this shit 3 days a week, right? You know that you can make. I do that the same thing. I make all my decisions intuitively, but I have a manifesto of what I want in my life, in my work. And if what I'm starting to do is not in the service of that, then I know I'm just chasing an opportunity just because the opportunity is there, and I'm going to end up hating it. So blow that up to a bigger perspective. Chris, can you see that?
All the time. I think this is really probably the heart of the issue, which is if all those things that we said earlier are true, you can make almost any business work. You're probably not going to be filthy rich. All this percent. It comes down to what are your values? What do you care most about? And not to get overly philosophical, but why are you here? Why were you put on the planet with a particular unique set of skills, talents, abilities at this time? And what is it that is a good outcome for you? And for some people, those are very different things. Founders, we like to build things and we want to create things and we want to have these things that we can look at. Creation is such a huge drive for us. But is this trap. And I think it may be, this is something I was writing notes on because I think it's called the success trap. And the success trap is something that short term you feel like will make your business more money, but you get trapped in it because it does not align with your values and your mission and what it is that you want to do in your life. And that's how you end up starting companies that suck and that you hate. And it may make money, but they never make enough money because you hate it. You don't really giving it your all.
Yeah, but don't all companies, so that's a great point, Chris, but don't most startups Now, when I say most startups, I'm talking about all the ones that are not going to see capital, right? So, which
Yeah,
is most,
the 90,
which is
99,
90
right?
whatever,
90%.
right? 90 and how many nines? Don't most companies start with, we're going to do whatever somebody's going to write us a check for?
No, I don't think so. I think quite the
even
opposite.
start
I think most startups get born out of someone's burning vision.
No, I think most startups start, and thank God this is true. Most startups start because they're filling a customer need.
Yeah. I have a
This
vision
is-
because
yeah.
I see
This is a
the need.
perfect example of why there's tension there, right?
Yeah, there's tension
so-
there, but I think the both can be true. But I think
I
it's
think that
customer
both are
need.
true. But
Unmet
here's
customer
the
need.
difference. So, Anthony, right now you've got, I don't know, maybe what, 5-10 clients, something like that you work with on a regular basis, that you've built, systems for to help automate.
Well, yeah,
businesses.
and a lot more if you count, people that I'm teaching and using the tools that I built. Yeah.
So of that group of people, right, and you're excited about that, and you're excited about doing those things, the tension is that some point, if it hasn't already happened, somebody's going to ask you to do something and pay you a bunch of money for it. And it's going to take you slightly away from the thing that you're most passionate about doing.
Maybe.
But you say this is with you with the tactile feel. You can feel that tension and correct yourself because you've done this a long time. Stephanie, you've done this a long time. You can start to feel when you drift from that mission. That's a learned thing. Early on, you don't do that and you don't know. And you're just so afraid of failure.
Or maybe you can serve both. Maybe you can serve both and both of them elevate because of it. Right. So I have services clients that I can take care of, or this product that I'm building. And what if they both meet? What if one helps the other? One elevates the other. Great. That's what optionality, that is optionality, right? At its finest is, can you serve multiple objectives that both feed on themselves and make each of them
but it's not
better,
right? It comes back to what we were just talking about, that all of these things are in the service of one objective and you're doing it in several different ways. That's when it works. Okay. We're going to hop into the speed round because we could probably talk about this for hours like we could usually do.
This feels like a 2-hour episode in the way.
Yeah, right. All right. You both get to answer. Wrong commitment fast or right answer slow?
Both.
Wrong commitment fast.
Kill 2 half baby. Wait. Kill 2.
Are we talking about killing children now?
Oh my goodness.
God, Steph,
we are YouTube now. Thanks, Steph.
Kill 2 half bets or keep running them both?
It depends on the data. What are the bets telling you?
Yeah, or if you don't have the third, then continue with the first two.
Yeah, right. What do you instead of what? Yeah.
Great answer, you guys. Opening up the options. Your team's waiting on you to decide. Commit now or gather one more data point.
So dependent on what you're trying to decide.
These questions
Always commit. Just, you got to make a decision. Indecision kills you.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree. I don't think indecision kills you. I think indecision can be power if you know when to be indecisive. I think if you
decide to be indecisive,
uncommitted to something, I think if you're conscious about it and say, I don't have enough data, it's a superpower if you can make that work for you.
Worst period, speed round period, ever period.
Second market before the first one's profitable, smart hedge or distraction?
Probably
I
a
froze.
distraction.
I didn't. I know the question. My
I'm
internet
keeping my
connection's
options
down.
open.
Yeah. So, second market before the first one's profitable. It depends. If the first one, if you think the first one's shaky, then yeah, second market.
Probably a
Chris?
distraction. It's probably a distraction. You're probably ADHD in the shit out of that.
I think we can just assume that with every factor.
Yeah.
This one comes back to what we talked about earlier, strategic ambiguity with investors. Is that honest positioning or slow motion credibility loss? Not going to get you funded.
Yeah, exactly right. Strategic ambiguity with investors means who's going to open up their checkbook with that?
Yeah, you're going to lose credibility.
But is that honest positioning or is it's credibility? Yeah. Okay. All right.
I think you can say here's the strategy. This is the way I handle that with investors. I think this is important to go down. You can say here's the direction we're going. This is the strategy. This is the endpoint that we're tracking on. By the way, if I'm wrong, here's the other places that we can take this company.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
showing that you have optionality with the strategy is really critical, but having a clear vision of where you're going really does help.
The other thing that does, and we know that this is 90% of what investors fund, what that does is it shows that you're a good leader, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Deep dive. This was the worst speed round we ever did. Deep dive resources. The Innovator's Solution by Clayton Christensen and Michael Rayner. Thinking in Bets, Making Smaller Decisions When You Don't Have All the Facts by Annie Duke. Okay. Good episode today, you guys. For once. I like that you misspelled my name in our episode notes, Anthony. Who wants to take us out? Chris?
Blame the AI. I'll do it. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. Please be sure. We know you have a lot of options when it comes to Founder Podcasts. We thank you. Thank you for choosing the How to Founder podcast. Visit us at howtofounder.com, where you can also connect with us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify channels. Please be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. You, my friends, are the pioneers of economic prosperity, and the three of us are just so grateful to be there along the way with you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.